Can't wait till last night.
When he goes, it wakes up.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Stormwater Board Water Meeting, public meeting, here on April 11th, 2023. If you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Wendy, can you lead us in a roll call?
Okay, Ryan Leesick.
Here.
Patrick Conlon.
Here.
Benji Kinchela.
Here.
Don Alsek.
Here.
Chris Delata.
Present.
Eric Bosma.
Here.
Robert Carnahan. And Wendy Schmidt.
All right, did everyone on the board have a chance to review the minutes from March 14th? Any questions, concerns? Okay, can I receive a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes from March 14th meeting.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, Ryan Leesick.
Yes.
Patrick Conlon.
Yes.
Benji Kinchela.
Yes. Okay, jump on into old business. We have drainage issues at 9080 West 129th.
Talked to him on, I think Monday about it. He's aware of it. It's in his court. You guys know.
Oh, he's got a wedding, right?
He's back from that now.
Oh, okay.
So,
I thought they were having a wedding in the backyard or something, so.
In August.
they're gonna have a celebration in August.
Yeah.
The wedding was actually in DC, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Waiting for him and him to get some material.
All right. All right, so keep that on old business. Getting into update items, we have the old Chuck Becker property, I guess,
True.
at 7513 West 136th Ave.
So we were instructed to put that on hold until the current homeowners come before the board. I just received another follow-up email from Austin's office just asking the same. They should proceed, and I kind of let them know that, and if it gets back onto a higher burner, we'll
Excuse me, but
continue
you have
the...
microphones, why don't you use them? We can't hear you. Can anyone hear them? Because I can't. There's nothing wrong with my hearing.
I think that's because I didn't turn them on.
There's been other meetings I come to and I leave and I can't hear a darn thing, why bother coming? I mean, you're discussing something, I can't hear anything you say.
My apologies, that's on me.
All right,
Thanks.
sorry.
I am so sorry.
So, just to reiterate that, we were instructed to put that one on pause until the new homeowners come before the board.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it'll be a quick cleanup to the easement docs when or if it proceeds.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Schubert and Dodge Street.
You want to take this one, Eric?
It's pretty much the same, except the lady that was at the board meeting, was it last week?
Council meeting?
Yeah.
I believe it was, yeah.
She is now saying that the Schubert is washing out, and there's no water in her yard. It's not making it to her yard, she said, which is a good thing. But me, Tim King, Tyler, and John Foreman were out there and looked at it. So the neighbor across the street, there's a lot of debris and stuff in their yard. There's a couple makeshift small little basin by the driveway. And then there's a small little makeshift basin by the road, and that's it. So.
Yeah, the previous complaint that got on the agenda in the first place was on at Dodge and essentially Schubert. This one's at Schubert and 131st, so essentially a block north of Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah.
There's two intersections. They're all part of the same storm sewer system, unfortunately. They all tie into that same system that heads south of Lakeshore Drive, crosses under the Hunleys area, and gets into the Meyer Manor system around Marquette and 131st Place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the same recommendation still stands. We need to figure out what that system's doing. We know it ties into a smaller system already. We know it's old though too.
Yeah.
Some of the inlets in that kind of neighborhood are not in the best locations. I don't know how they got into the locations they are inevitably at, but some are in High Point, some are like in the middle of an intersection, like it's just very piecemeal. So if we have to replace that system, it's not going to be a small project, because it would likely have to be in concurrence with some type of road modifications to get the roads to drain to where we probably put a new inlet. So at some point, next month or two or so, we'll probably have to camera from that tap-in point on Marquette and go up from there.
Yeah.
Because I think we tried to come down from there and don't get too far. So that's most likely where we're gonna have to go, but that system drains quite a bit of area. And like I said, it taps into a Meyer Manor system that's small as well. That one's intentionally small because it outlets below the lake level, the normal level. So making that one only bigger, we just added storage to the system, but no conveyance. So we have a pinch point that we really can't defeat. That's the long kind of whole system answer, but we'll look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, 'cause this would be probably tied into 130th court as well, because.
That's all one
Yeah.
tiny large system.
I mean,
Call it that.
now we're starting to get pieces of that whole entire section of neighborhood now that are gonna have to probably get looked at.
Yeah, those two intersections are kind of the headwaters of that system, so they're the initial upstream inlets that start getting through a system that's not the greatest.
Is there any opportunities to tie it into a larger project that's in planning?
Not any good ones. So that Meyer Manor Terrace subdivision, which is that kind of area bounded by Dodge and Schubert, 131st, Deodar, Lakeshore Drive, that is included in our kind of subdivision master plan. It's in our miscellaneous section that includes another street in Meyer Manor itself, I think 132nd, and some, other streets in that area, just to kind of finish that corridor of the town off, because Meyer Manor was reconstructed in '07, I believe, if not earlier than that, '06, '07, '08, something like that.
All but one street.
All but one street, the 132nd
And then I
Ave
just received
place.
a complaint about that, Mary Joan, I guess, Dixon repaired her basement, and now with flooding, January, Michael's, kid or something directly below it, and they never flooded before, but now that they fixed their problem,
She raised the house up, I'd seen that.
so now,
Raise it up.
She raised it up.
so the people that live on Truman Circle down there are getting flooded.
Yeah, I mean, that specific street, not to get too far off topic, but that street did come to this board probably 2 years ago, would be my guess. We put estimates together, and it wasn't cheap, because it desperately needs curbs to control it. Mary Joan is unfortunately in the sag of the road, and there is no way to catch the water right now. So that was clearly not a cheap project. If my memory serves me right, maybe $250,000. And the kind of discussion at this board was that it gets lumped into something future. So that one's kind of been earmarked. It's partially designed, at least preliminarily designed. We know the numbers. It's just a matter of finding money and if we want to lump it to another project. That one's closer to the lake, so we can find an outlet a little bit better. That one's likely going to be its own system, or at least bring it down Marquette to get it to Truman somehow, I believe was the thought. So, yeah, that one's kind of lumped together with Meyer Manor Terrace, which is north and northwest of Lakeshore Drive.
Can you point out where Truman's at on the map there?
Truman's this little circular road near the marina down here. It's kind of winding-S road. That's essentially the lowest part of the southern part of Meyer Manor. There's a ditch line on the south side of it that kind of meanders its way around the marina building and kind of follows the road, and then outlets just south of the road. There's a lot of cross culverts down there. It's by far the lowest part of the area.
Yeah, I'd say just keep it on update items
And we just need to televise it, get into it, and see what we're working with, and then we'll go from there. If we need to find a separate outlet for it, and we can make something work, we'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you. We'll look forward to an update in next meeting. All right, moving on to Woods of Cedar Creek.
Nothing new on my end.
Okay. Moving on to the Julian Gibbons property at 6425 West 145th Street.
Again, nothing new on my end, minus the updated memo, and then pending scoring for that one as well.
Okay, and then moving on to Justin Latt's property at 7320 West 140th Place, same answer?
We, sort of, we did another small site visit for that one, just to kind of update, provide an update from the last meeting. Mr. Latt had asked, if we could also replace a culvert up on 140th Ave, basically a secondary access point up there. I think it's a 12-inch pipe now, we probably can get an 18 into it, so we can, otherwise it's super shallow. So, it's in the floodplain, so anything, once it actually starts getting full of water, then I imagine it's going to be floodplain, so the 18 should sort of mimic what we're going to put in under 140th Place, but that's really the biggest we can do without getting into the top of his driveway.
So did any parts of the previous project scope change?
No. So just a refresher for everybody, we kind of modified what we discussed from last meeting. We'll obviously replace the culvert underneath 140 Place just because it's failing right now. I think it's already saw cut to be removed.
Yeah, that's right.
But instead of extending a pipe down his side of his house, just because we would have less than 6 inches cover on it, we will essentially regrade that area, rip out a majority of those trees, and have a permanent easement on his parcel and, like, most likely his neighbor to the west, Mr. Sullivan. I think we have plenty of fill at Public Works. This would be a Public Works project.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would essentially reshape this ditch, provide a little more freeboard to his foundation, basically try to raise that up as much as we can. Be most likely below his crawl space fence. So we can get a couple inches on his southwest corner. We can actually get quite a bit on his northwest corner, I think. So we can reshape all that. Once we get the trees out of there, we can get the roots out of the ditch, which are right at the bottom of it, if not above it in some areas. At least one tree is quite large. You can kind of see it as northwest corner there. That'll be the most problematic ones. The ones in the front are scrub trees and with some slightly larger diameters, but they're not bad.
Yeah.
So, but the estimate in the memo, the version 3 of that memo was accurate to kind of that scope, minus the pipe up to the north, but that's relatively easy. It's all in the right of way, I believe, as well.
Okay. And this would be one of the projects we're going to be discussing in new business as well.
Yep. That's kind of the small update.
Okay, thank you. Getting onto the Burrink property at 14335 Truman Street.
So we do have an update on that one. TJ from our office ran out there probably a week after last meeting and kind of took a look at it. Pretty much what Mr. Burrink was talking about is true. He actually was out there with TJ. Kind of they were talking about stuff. TJ took some shots out there. It's a moderately reverse pitch driveway from the edge of pavement into his garage. And his garage, pending a survey, so he's actually coming before the BZA for, I think, several variances to add an addition onto his house. I think his garage is no more than 5 feet off the right-of-way. Not even right-of-way, I say edge of pavement. Like, it's right there. So, I think he's actually asking for a waiver of front yard setback to increase his kind of non-conformity, if you want to call it that. So that's going to be up to the BZA. They requested, kind of on my request, that they provide a survey to actually figure out what that distance is based on his property corners. He's right, so the water does drain down. I'll bring it up really quick. So he's at the very north end of Truman Street off of Lowerman. And if you look at the grades, pretty good pitch from the intersection of 144th Ave to the north. Pipe falls off 8 feet. Pretty much when you get to his his property, it flattens out. And there's still some flow to the north property line, kind of at this apartment complex, but there's one or two trees there. I think there's a utility pole there with a guy wire and everything. And it's kind of just built up and cruddy. I would recommend that we clear that out first and see how it works. He was saying that he doesn't really have long-term problems, it just takes a while for the water to get down and out. I think that's primarily related to kind of just how scrubby and overgrown the end of the road is. We can try doing that, clear it out, make it flat, restore kind of the original drainage area and drainage directions, see how that goes. If that doesn't solve it, the next option, the only way you can really solve it is curb. Put some type of rolled curb there, keep it in the road until it gets off to the back and then goes. Because like I said, he's probably lower than the edge of pavement by a couple inches. So I think him and even his neighbor to the south, they've kind of tried to do their own asphalt type curb to prevent it from getting in his garage, but it doesn't go all the way across his garage frontage. It would never really work. I don't know, he mentioned something about the crown of the road. I can't remember us touching this road unless Public Works has done something. We haven't touched it from a large scale, a mill replacement, anything like that since I've been here, that I'm aware. The road actually wasn't in terrible shape. I mean, there's only 4 houses on it, maybe 3. Probably explains it, but it's not overly crowned that we could tell. He's just built lower. It's probably been like that since he's owned it.
You're gonna try and clean some of the...
Yeah, we were gonna go over there with the skid steer, but, I was on vacation for a week and then we haven't got a chance to go back over there.
It'll be a little messy because there's a fence line back there too, and I think one of the trees has kind of grown through it.
We're gonna clean it out.
So,
Okay.
That's where all our grindings and everything from plowing, we plow right to there and then stop.
it just builds up.
So it's just getting built up from consistently plowing. So, cause we never go the opposite way, we always go straight to his house and then back up, so.
Yeah, I would try clearing it out,
Yeah.
see how spring rains kind of handle it, and we'll never be below his house
No.
like we'd want to be, but maybe this will help, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, we'll keep that on update items for next time as well. Moving over to Hanover trustee's office at 13303 Parish Ave.
This was kind of in public work court. I know Tim's aware of it, he tried to fix it once.
I am still trying to discuss it with, Mr. Kubiak on it. I'm just gonna leave it like that there, so.
Yeah, this thing's never gonna be perfect.
No.
This sidewalk was always lower than the road in some respects. So we're most likely not gonna be able to drain it entirely. There was always kind of like a little dip in it. It got made moderately worse by us adding curb, but the intent was to drain to the structure on the east side of this building. It's just a really flat slope.
Yeah.
So we just gotta notch it out better and do the best we can.
Okay.
So we'll talk to him about it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Public Works projects. 9402 West 141st Place.
This one, we, Tim wanted us to dig a ditch, so we dug the ditch, but we realized that the ditch was higher than what we really intendedly planned on. So we're going to do what Don said, drop a basin, run pipe west to his property line, like a corrugated, I think it's 10 inch or something, I can't remember what we're using.
Okay.
It's out there now. And then, there was an inch back pitch on the culvert pipe going across the road to the pipe, or to the park, but it's still flowing, so
Okay.
it's still good. We cleaned out the other side by the park, and we realized that his driveway culvert is 5 to 6, feet the opposite direction, so it's back pitched.
Inches?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what he wants us to do now is dig the east side by the driveway. He doesn't want us to rip the driveway up yet. He wants us to see if we can actually physically lift the corrugated pipe up.
But he
about
put that
a
pipe
foot.
in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Why would we wanna replace it or touch it at all? I wouldn't get into the business of fixing somebody else's mistake.
So he wants to see if the water will start draining into the culvert pipe going across the driveway into the basin, which will ultimately go into the park. We're gonna fill the ditch back in, so the guy's more concerned about being able to mow everything than the water itself, so.
But I thought he wanted like a little retention pond.
Now he wants to get rid of it.
He wants to get rid of
It's kind of
that
acting
totally.
like one right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make it smaller, we're still gonna be able to have it like it was, the way it's sloped closer to the road. We're gonna leave it, but we're gonna fill it in more so it's not as big.
It's gonna skinny it up.
Yeah, and then, we're just gonna take the corrugated pipe from the basin and then just shoot it west to like almost to his property line with like a outfall type flare, and then hopefully the water will run in. And I don't remember ever seeing any issues in front of the guy's house except for the one little spot in between the property lines, but this is what he wants to do now with it, because when we were digging the ditch, there was no way we could get any type of swale. As soon as we dug in, his yard is so high that it was like maybe 3 or 4 feet before we could even start getting a swale out of it. So, Tim decided that we'll just put a 2x2 basin in there and, hope for the best. So.
Okay.
I was hoping to say this project was gonna be done by this meeting, but we got pulled off of it today to go look for some water lines over here by the lake, or by the White House. So, hopefully we can start on it and get it done by the end of the week.
Okay.
So,
All right, thanks for the update.
you're welcome.
All right, moving on to new business. How would you like to handle this?
I guess it's kind of up to the board. So you have provided me, your scorings for the projects, of which there were 6. I've created an Excel document that shows, the breakdown of the scoring, and then the average amongst the 3, and then ranks those. So from first, second, and third, it is, 140th place, coming in at first, which is, tentatively called Lat. And then at number 2, Gibbons, and number 4, Woods of Cedar Creek. They were all very close in nature, as you can kind of see by the scorings. And then 4, 5, and 6 would be the Woodland Hills, number 5 being Becker, and number 6 being the Schubert Gotch. So right now, as it currently, you guys have the cost estimates for the projects from Dot's memo. As it currently stands, we have approximately a little over $180,000 in the capital improvement fund, which, if we take the costs associated with the 3 projects, specifically looking at the cost of the first 2 projects that could be done by Public Works, those 2 would fit within the current budget, within the capital fund. If they stay on budget, which is
Yeah.
A big if.
the big if, but we would not have within the budget right now funding for number 3. There is going to be a transfer made from operating to capital sometime in the summer months, probably around June, July, or August, that the clerk treasurer will make, and we can reevaluate the funding level and how those previous projects have stayed on budget, and evaluate if we can do project number 3 this year or commit to funding it for early next year, if that is the desire of the board.
Okay, so just to reiterate, so, because everyone doesn't have this in front of them. The top 3 projects in order of rating. Number 1 is 140th Place, the Latz property. Number 2 is the Julian Gibbons property. And number 3 is the Woods of Cedar Creek property. And based upon the current funding of $180,000 in the stormwater fund, we can pursue 2 projects at this time and after the transfer is made from operating capital in June, July, August timeframe, be able to pursue the Woods of Cedar Creek project. Potentially.
Should that not, that's designed, is it not, the Woods of Cedar Creek Phase 2?
For the most part, yeah.
So is it worth bidding it in mid-year, this year, in the next few months?
Only if you are going to commit capital to it.
We can hold bids statutorily 60 to, I think, max 90 days.
Max 90 days.
I'm just throwing it out there, does it hurt to bid it? I mean, and then even if we don't have the funds by the, fall or whenever, we just rebid it again next year, is there a crime in that? I mean, I don't.
No, typically if you rebid it, you have to have some type of modification to it. So, I don't know, we could modify substantially to make it different. That's a weird gray area.
So if we went out to bid, say, like, mid-July, that would have 90 days, and assuming that the transfer would be made within...
Well, I mean, the bidding process will take at least a month,
Okay.
if not,
So if bids
a
close
month and a
by...
half. Yeah.
Bids close by mid-July,
Yep.
that would be something, right?
Again, a lot of it depends on funding and how much Public Works can do.
And how much the other 2 projects stay within budget.
Right.
Yeah, those 2 numbers for,
Cost some waste.
I guess all I'm saying is I would hate for the 2 projects get done efficiently and within budget, and then we're delaying the bidding, you know what I mean? We're just, it'd be nice to go boom, boom, boom if we can.
well, all 3 also have an easement acquisition
Yeah,
kind of part of them, which will take time as well.
yeah.
Preferably we have before we go into bid.
Do you have to design, or do you have to bid, you can pursue easements for Woods, Cedar Creek prior to anything going out to bid, correct?
Yeah.
If that's your direction, yeah. And the first 2 projects, number 1 and 2, those are Public Works estimates. So if for some reason Public Works cannot do them and we have to quote them out, they will go up.
Yeah.
The Woods of Cedar Creek one is more assuming we're going out.
Yeah.
That's too big for Public Works.
Too big.
Yeah.
The other 2 we can handle.
Yeah.
It's just material costs,
Yeah, they're kind of a shot in the dark.
yeah.
We know concrete's well higher this year, and certain pipes are even higher than last year.
Yeah, so there's, with the estimate of Woods of Cedar Creek, there's also no guarantee right now that we could do the projects. We've been getting higher bids than expected recently.
Yeah, and people have been expecting high, so, and they're still higher. I mean, a lot of these are small quantities too, keep in mind,
Yeah.
which have a tendency to drive your linear footage up as well.
Okay, so, I mean, just talking out loud here, estimation of $30,000 for the Latz property. Estimating the Gibbons property, which is 2 projects, or 2 considerations. Estimated for budget for pipe work only with Public Works completing work, that's $30,000.
And then estimated budget with pavement work included in bid, that'd be $85,000. And Woods of Cedar Creek, estimated cost is $150,000 to $175,000.
Probably going to high end on that one.
Yeah. Okay, 175, heard.
I'm gonna go backwards real quick if I could, Mr. Chairman. On the Gibbons project, the 85,000 of paving, is that for that street, that entire street? I thought there were discussions of that whole street being paved, is that right? Or no?
That would,
Okay.
no, it would be essentially from the intersection to, I think, one and a half lots south of Miss Gibbons, I believe.
Okay,
And then maybe around the intersection to where we gotta patch the other one.
okay.
So in the vicinity.
My bad, my bad, my mistake, I misunderstood that as a separate project last time we met. Okay.
I mean, I would like to pursue these projects as they sit right now. And I mean, is there a way that we could do the Woods of Cedar Creek project in phases? Is that something I shouldn't say?
It would be more expensive,
Okay.
just on the sheer mob, demob costs and access costs. Yes, I mean, we're moving upstream. It's just one system, you could, but doing it in two phases would be overly pushing in the 200s.
So, I mean, barring any unforeseen events or work for Public Works, I mean, this is something that the last property and the Gibbons property can be pursued this spring, as long as we get the easements together, received, and then making sure that the easements that are going forward for the Woods of Cedar Creek, and we have that project able to be bid in June, with bids closing in July, and being able to pursue that project once that transfer comes into play. This all seems as work that can be done this year. Am I wrong?
If the dollars are there.
If the dollars there and the bids stay the same and so on.
Mr. Chairman, if the Gibbons project was done without the pavement work, we'd be in there. If we do with the pavement work, we'd be over budget.
Use your rubber shoes on that road then.
We'd have to go with the pipe only, and then with the 85 estimate, it'd put us over for the Woods of Cedar Creek.
Yeah.
I mean, we can slow play Woods if we had to. Slow play, I mean, just seeing how if the two ones go ahead of them, if we get the easements relatively quickly, we'll know where they're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
They're not big projects.
Not really.
Gibbons is quite, it's a little more involved than Latz. Latz is some grading work and pipe and tree work, but, I mean, we can just lag Woods of Cedar Creek a little bit until we actually figure out what we're at, or we can quote it out to, or we're gonna have to bid it out, but bid it out and we don't have to award it.
That, I think, would be probably the most prudent option. Well, certainly, if that's the board's direction, as we're doing projects 1 and 2, Latz and Gibbons, we could be collecting easements from Woods of Cedar Creek, since that's going to be much more intensive than the other 2 projects. We'll, as we're going through that process and Public Works is building out the first or second projects, as Don said, we'll have a better idea of where they're coming in at cost-wise. That will give us an idea of potentially where we're at with other costs. And then I can work with the clerk treasurer and our financial advisor on trying to get an idea of what a transfer is going to look like in the summer months. I probably won't have that answer for a bit yet, but we can at least work on that.
And the bid's a little bit more involved engineering wise. We just need to get our front end docs, contract docs, technical specs and all that stuff. So we would need some time to put that together. It won't take long. We kind of have that stuff templated out, but there's that factor difference, I guess, between Public Works doing it and us sending it out.
We don't have to decide tonight on a bid date per se, or when we're going to hit the street, but, because it could take some time for the easement acquisition, so.
Correct.
I mean, that may take till November.
I certainly hope not.
I hope not too, but it's not either.
Completely within the realm of possibility.
Yes.
I think the residents over there will proceed and try and get that a lot quicker than that.
I agree.
One homeowner can,
But yeah, one homeowner can say,
absolutely not, in certain circumstances, and then the board in town have to then decide if it's an easement that we want to acquire by process of going through, and acquiring it through, condemnation.
We don't want to do that, because
That
they're temporary.
breaks that project out.
Well, and they're temporary easements. We don't want a permanent easement back there.
Okay.
So, and that's 7 parcels. Gibbons is 1, maybe 2, hopefully 1, and then last is 2.
do you want to formalize this with a motion?
I just don't know how to say it.
Go on with the,
I'll try.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that, we begin with, 2 projects, the Latz property and the Gibbons property, with the funding available on hand, and contemporaneously pursue, property easements for the woods of Cedar Creek.
I'd like to second that motion.
Ben will have to second.
Ben will, okay.
yeah, I'll second that motion.
Ryan Mason,
Yes.
Patrick Collins,
Yes.
Benji Kitchler,
Yes.
Is there a time frame of eligibility for the easements once we have them?
I mean, we can write it into the easement documents. I think before we used some type of sunset language with it. Basically, it was pretty broad. It said, we'll sunset after project is complete. There may be some finite limits to that language, like if we're stretching into next year. But we can talk about it. We already have a lot of those documents together. I think we have to update some of the owners, obviously. But I don't believe the legals and all that should change a whole lot from the previous ones. So that's the actual documents themselves on that one should be pretty quick. We just kind of need, since it's been so long, just to need to see what we did before and pick it back up.
Okay. So, moving on to public comment, I'd like to
He's got something and I've got one thing too.
Okay.
We had previously voted on a prior meeting to move the meeting date to the first Thursday of the month, and I believe we selected 6 o'clock. I'm going to ask that as the starting time. I'm going to ask the board instead change that motion, or at least make a new motion to make it 7 o'clock on the first Thursday, which will coincide with looking at getting the park board to start at 5:30. So they'll start at 5:30, run until 7, and then this board will start at 7 and run until conclusion. And as I had previously stated, the motivation for that is to be able to have legal representation at this meeting.
Okay.
Especially since we're getting into projects where we're going to be going out to bid and getting easements, it's good to have them here in the room and on the same page.
That starts June, right?
Yes, and keeping that start date at June for the transition.
June 1st.
Yep.
All right, I'd like to formally make a motion
to change the Stormwater Board monthly meeting from the second Tuesday of every month to now the first Thursday of every month, taking place at 7 p.m. instead of 6 p.m., starting in June of 2023.
One of the board members have to make that motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. Can I get a second?
Second.
Ryan Mason,
Yes.
Patrick Collins,
Yes.
Brian Kitchler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilperson Carnahan?
We had, in that heavy tornado warning stuff that we had on that Friday,
Yeah.
the viaduct without railroad track, that all got flooded. That drains in to Latula.
Yeah,
Was that all cleaned out?
yeah,
So it was
Yeah.
just the amount of,
just the amount of water.
that we had?
Yeah, there was a lot of water
Yeah.
in a short period of time, so yeah, it was just, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
No,
that was
yeah.
all cleaned
Yeah,
out.
that was all cleaned out. Actually, Tyler and I went out, before that heavy storm and cleaned them all out anyway, so.
Okay.
And we're pretty good on, all of us, as the public work and whole, keeping them clean.
Good job.
It's the first time that's flooded in a while, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to public comment. If you have any comments, please approach the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Shirley Dunbar, D-U-N-B-A-R, 6820 West 142nd Place, in the woods, Cedar Creek. And I'm just concerned about the flood that went through here March 23rd. I went out and took pictures of my yard and how severe this rainstorm was. I have 10 pictures here of my flooded backyard from one end of the street to the other. And I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of how severe and how much water we did get and how deep it was in our yards. I took 10 pictures, as I said. The next day I came out and there were 2 ducks in the yard looking for water. You know, it needs to be done. The first part of the project got done 2 years ago, and then we were kind of left in the lurch there. And I just want to make sure everybody understands how bad it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anita Howard. I've lived here for 35 years, and my problem is my neighbor's water.
I'm sorry, what's your address?
12738 Alexander Street.
Okay.
Tammy sent you guys a couple pictures. Now, I got a couple pictures from a few years ago, well, a couple years ago, where the issue has started. She didn't, I doubt if she got these pictures. And I also have a picture of how she's angled his, I've had Public Works come out.
Yeah.
They came out at, I've just gone through the channel and now I'm here. It went from Public Works to code enforcer to building inspector to this meeting. And, you know, I'm not on the list, but I was told to stay for this. So he's got his, sump pump draining.
To your
And
driveway?
it's been happening, like I said, here's a date of 2021 and here's a date of 2020. And the one is March and there's snow on the ground and there's water in his grass. And now it's coming, this storm that you guys are talking about, it started coming across my driveway. I got my own water, you know? I don't need his water. But he has his, can I show you guys this?
Yeah, we were out there.
He
I'm looking
has
at pictures Tammy did share on my.
I'm not sure if you got all of them, I can't remember which one. This is his tube going down, and here's my driveway. I feel like I don't want his water. I'm gonna get stuck with his water in the ditch area. He don't even have it down to the ditch.
Yeah, it's where it should be running to the ditch.
He moved it back over.
I moved it, so it wasn't facing her driveway, and he moved it back over.
Was the problem absolved on her
No.
property after that?
No.
No, it's a,
He's got like 2 sub pump hoses, he's got one that's like in the ground, but I don't even know if it's even connected to anything. And then there's that one that she's showing you now, and it's just
this
out in the, out
is
into the
in
driveway.
2021, when I was just, I mean, in 20, I was saying this is a mess, you know, but I was being okay. And in 21, you can see there's snow on the ground. That was, March 1st of 21. And there's snow on the ground, and there's water built up. You can tell here on 20 that there's a hole in the ground. There's not water there, but it's starting its thing. Now, it's traveling across my driveway and moving up to my house. And I think you guys have that picture. I don't know, but here's the picture of it coming up my driveway, and up my driveway here. Here it's going, that's where it's going across the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
I had a stream. I have built a dam. I had to.
Yeah, we seen it.
And, he's mad. He's real mad. Because it's now, guess what? He's got Alexander Lake in his yard. And I'm not happy, but I need your guys' help. I need him to move that hole. Or that the pipe, whatever. I need him to move that, and I need your guys' help, because obviously we don't get along too well. Here's that, picture. This is where he's got it, and he's angled to, here's my driveway. He's angling it towards my driveway. I feel like it needs to go, and he's not taking it through the ditch. This is my driveway. And it was a stream. And it's been this way. I have my own water. Like I said, I got a little bit of water myself, but it's gotten worse. I need you guys to help me.
Do you have a driveway culvert right now? Do you have a culvert under your driveway with a ditch line?
Yes,
Is it functioning?
and he hasn't got it back there.
Is it functioning relatively well? It is?
I got leaks in it, and, but he stopped in the yard. He's in the yard, and he's angled in my driveway.
Well, what's the town code? 10 feet?
10 feet, yeah. But it's 10 feet from the road, but he's pretty far from the road, but, I mean, there is a pretty established ditch there. He could extend the pipe and put it into the...
Can you get grade?
He could quit putting it on my corner, too.
I
He
mean,
needs to put it down the middle of his yard and not towards my
I went
corner
over there a
and down
couple
to the
weeks
ditch.
ago, and it's one of those sub pumps that continuously runs too, like every couple seconds.
I've got a recording, it's gushing, yes, it's gushing after the
Yeah.
storm, I understand. It's wet March 1st with snow on the ground. I'm getting ready to sell my house.
I mean,
Unfortunately, in my opinion, would be a code enforcement issue.
yeah, I don't.
I
Because-
did code enforcement, and they sent me to building inspector, and building inspector said, yeah, Tammy, she was real good, she tried.
I mean, that area appears to be repeatedly wet in most aerial photos.
Right, because of his sun pump.
So it's been in 13.
This didn't happen overnight.
No, I don't disagree with you. I mean, you can see the dark area that dating back probably 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the pictures that I saw, it just doesn't look like it looks like it's too low. Like, it looks like it can't make it to the ditch.
No, he doesn't have it extended to the ditch.
There's another corrugated pipe in the ground that shoots like from his house. It goes from like white PVC to corrugated black, and then it goes into the ground. But then there's this one right next to it that's bigger.
He
So
just put
I
these
don't know if
white,
he
these-
just, we were thinking maybe he was gonna eventually run it to the ditch, but I mean, she's saying it's been this long. I don't know. I know a couple houses farther down from her. I can't remember if it's north or south, but I know that culvert pipe going across Alexander, it's flooding the yard, like. to
There's one coming under Alexander?
Yeah, but I think it's farther down from her house.
I mean,
Down as in,
Yeah, I think it's north, yeah.
because I've not seen it. All I
think it's
see is the
north.
water in my yard and his yard, and when the stream started happening, you guys, I got angry, and I built a bank dam. He stared me down today.
Because I know when we went out there a couple months ago, because you guys were talking about having to check all the culvert pipes, that there's one, and but I mean, it's small, but we wrote that on the list, but, I mean, she's got a lot of water flowing into her driveway. I mean, I moved the pipe where it would
You did.
flow the opposite way, or at least like more, like straight out to the ditch, but apparently he moved it back, so.
He put the little black things in so it don't move anywhere now. Those are new.
I mean,
Chris has an idea.
Now, my idea is that you and Tim go out there, make a report and see if it's a violation of our MS4 ordinance and.
probably not. I mean, the natural drainage drains south to north. And so he has a legal right to basically follow the existing grades, to drain it, wherever that may fall. Obviously, the preference.
But it
Yeah.
also, he can still move it over, away from my driveway, and still be going down. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes, he can move it, but I don't think this board can make him move it. I think he has to be violating something for us to say we need him to move it. And right now, I'm not, if he's 10 feet away from the property line, either for his downspouts or his sump drainage, that meets town code. Preferably, yes, we'd want it to get out to
Here?
the,
Right in here, God, it's hard. This is the ditch, right there.
Yep.
See how you see it on there. And he stops right here. Instead of, no, he needs to move it over, but he needs to take it to the,
well, see, that's why it appears to me that this ponding area is lower than the ditch line.
that's because the water has made it heavy over the years. It's gotten worse since my picture in 20 and 21. It's gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. I could have came 2 years ago, but I didn't want to do that. Now I'm selling my house.
I mean, I'll take a look at it, like Chris says with Tim, our
I wish
director of
you would.
operations, and we'll take a look at it, but that's my initial opinion.
Your initial opinion is I'm stuck with that water coming up?
No, I'm just saying that I don't know if storm board is the appropriate,
Yeah, this is where I ended up
Endgame
after
for it.
being,
Yeah.
I've been passed around.
I don't mean to do that, but, let us look at it, if you don't mind coming back to next month's meeting, we'll have a better answer for you, and we'll discuss internally if this is the right forum for this, and then we'll take it from there.
Do you need my pictures?
No, I already have, Tammy's already sent them out,
Okay.
so I've already seen them. So,
And my apologies, it's your neighbor to the south?
I have the address. I wrote it down. It's 12752, and it is to the south.
Yeah, I don't know what town code is, because there's a ditch line there, so I don't know is it still 10 feet from the road, or is it 10 feet from the ditch
it's more
line?
from property,
Property lines.
so you're not impacting your neighbor, but that's geared towards, I guess, newer subdivisions where, we know we have good pitch from side yards out or back or whatnot. It's a little different when it's an older subdivision like this, where we're not confident we have those types of grades.
Okay.
So I'll discuss with Tim.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll keep this on update items, Mrs. Howard.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Kerr, I live at 9900 West 129th Place, it's Monastery Woods. And I just would like to know where you get your funding from for this board. Like you say, you have a certain amount of money to use, where do you get it from?
Trick question?
That's
This is
my
like
question.
entrapment or something.
It's
No,
not
it's
enough-
entrapment.
It's
No,
not
I-
enough money, whatever it comes from. No offense, Chris.
It comes from residents that pay $10 a month, and the business pay a little bit more.
What do you mean, the $10 a month out of our taxes, our home
On
taxes?
your
Every
bill,
month,
the water bill. on your water bill.
Residents pay $10 stormwater fee.
I pay 50 for sewer, is that stormwater?
No, your sewer bill is $48.
Yeah,
Stormwater is $10, and garbage service is what, 20?
So it's under drainage
so
on your
it's
bill?
$10,
Yeah.
because,
It used to be 5, and we raised it by $5 to try and take on more projects. But we don't have enough money coming in to cover all the projects.
well, actually, in Monastery Woods, I discovered that if you had a pond and the rainwater went into the pond, we reduced our bill $5 apiece. A lot of paperwork, but we did it. We called McFarland, he said, you know, it's not being treated, it's not going to the filtration or the sewage plant, and so we lowered our
It doesn't go
$5.
to a
It doesn't go to a
sewer
But
sewage
just
plant.
one association, they didn't do it for anybody else, they had to apply and they didn't, so I don't know why they just didn't do it for everybody. But my beef is, you know, and I guess you could say move back where you were. I lived in Highland for 20 years, I lived in Monastery Wood 6, and I knew what someone said, you know, the water's gonna be a little high, it's 3 times. As a widow living alone, my monthly bill is never under $118. And so I take offense with the Republican Assembly saying there are billions, before they even collected our taxes for this first assessment, billions of extra dollars. Why don't you guys get some of that? I don't understand that. I don't see how you can play God and pick and choose these people here, even this lady, and say, well, we don't have the money to help you. They're all taxpayers, they all pay. I mean, $10, and look at Schilling's building, I think, 500 new homes. Down where I live on 129th, there's gonna be homes that are starting at $400,000. You got all this extra $10 coming in, and then you, like God, play who's gonna get it fixed.
We're not
and who
playing
isn't.
God, ma'am, no
Well,
disrespect,
okay,
but we're not.
maybe that's bad wording,
It's
but
a process.
you choose, you know, amongst yourselves, why doesn't every taxpayer get whatever they need? That's my question.
Because there's limited funds.
Well, then maybe get it from somewhere else. You can't get it from somewhere else, the $10 a person?
This is a board that's funded through, it's a utility board, that's funded through a $10 per month for ERUs for homes.
Well, can you change that?
We could raise it, but it comes from, again, the taxpayers, as it was raised before.
Well, my subdivision, most of us are paying $3,000 and $4,000 already. What's another $20? I mean, plat up for sale signs are going up. One widow already is selling,
When we raised it, I took a lot of flack, because we raised it from 5 to 10. They wanted to hang us.
Well, now you got more homes though, right? I mean, you've got all these new subdivisions.
And they're all paying $10 too.
Right, so doesn't that raise your revenue for here?
It does.
It does, but it's not enough to handle all these projects.
And the government doesn't give you any funding?
No.
Like when you do our water bill with the $50, someone at a meeting here said, that $50 you yourself, because you're on the board, signed a contract with the government that they pay half and you pay half, because when you tear up a Cedar Lake, you put in the sewers. Am I right? There was some deal that you made. Because when I said something to one of them, they said, you know, we'd go to jail if we lowered your bill, because the water bill, that $50, because we own, I found out, part of the treatment plant with the next town over. We own that.
We don't own it, we share it. They own
So the
it,
revenue we
we
get.
got 50% capacity.
Okay, yeah, they never mentioned
Correct,
that.
Don?
Right, but I'm just saying, you signed something, maybe you weren't even aware of it, but they said it at one of the town meetings, that's $50, it's kinda high. And they said because the government backs what you put in, some of that $50, so that you can put overhead sewers in, like around the lake, they don't have them. So when you tear up a street, you also put in the sewers, correct? And that's why we pay so high water bill.
No,
That's not, you wanna go ahead and jump in here?
I really don't know where to start on that, because that's not accurate. This board is, again, this is funded by utility. It's not taxpayer, not tax-based. It is strictly a user-based. As far as getting any funding from the state legislature, that's something that they generally don't do, and I'm not trying to be mean about it, but they just keep that money in Indianapolis generally.
But you try to write them and find out if there's something you can do about that, or?
They're going through their budget process right now, and if they wanted to distribute more funding to the municipalities, they could. It's not
We got all this
something-
extra money, they gave us $200 last year.
That was, again, that's something that was done by the state, not by any local, county, or other government entity.
So then you decide, like, out of, from A to G, these homes, or these people that need help, you just decide amongst yourselves, like, you have so much money, and this will cost this, this will cost that, and then you just pick them out. But not everybody will get that fixed.
There is a limited amount of money that the
So how do
government
you
can
decide
afford now
who gets fixed?
through a process that we undertook just today for this board.
Yeah. Well, you'd be kind of angry if you were a taxpayer and you weren't gonna get it fixed, because you didn't have any money, but you fixed, you know, Chuck Becker's, okay, or somebody on here, I don't know who that man is.
He's not in the top three. He's not getting fixed.
Who decided that?
This board did an evaluation of that,
You know,
of which ones would be priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and what was there, 6?
but that's my whole point here is, how can you do that?
There's a
We-
scoring.
We
There's
have
a
to,
scoring.
because there's not enough money to do every single project that comes before this board,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay, do you have anything to do with the wells, this board, or no? That's a different
No.
department?
No, this only handles stormwater.
Okay, so
Well,
I wanted,
under the state, right?
if I wanted to find out what chemicals you put in the well, how would I do that?
You could email our water superintendent or come in front of,
Well, I copied him today, he doesn't answer his phone, but I went through your secretary, Margaret, who's, by the way, excellent. Whenever there's any problems, everybody on my block says, call Margaret. She always answers her phone, she doesn't know the answer, she finds it. Other people just don't even answer their phone, they don't get back to you. But your department's real guilty of that, Mr. Bozeman. They don't, there's no secretary, don't answer the phone. If she ever leaves, call me, I want the job.
He wants to.
So I send break. But, not to be mean, but, I just asked him, he did call me back after I called Margaret, got him to call me, and, because he never returned my call, and doesn't answer the phone. So he called me and said, Ryan Kuiper's his name, that they only put like a bleach in there. And a neighbor of mine, she's much younger than me, we take thyroid pills, and if you have too much fluoride in there, even like your toothpaste or something, it can throw your tests off. And hers was crazy, and mine was, we go to different doctors, we both take non-generic, we take the same formula, and we went to different labs. And she crashed, and so did I. So our doctors are helping us, but mine wanted to know if there was fluoride put in the well. It comes up on that last test, which you don't get till like a year and a half into the year. Then you get what's in the water. And you get last year's. That seems strange to me. But he blamed it on somebody else, some committee or somebody. But you should get the water report every year timely, I would think. But we're not going to get this last year's until June, he said, or July, which seems weird. But I just wanted to know what chemicals. You got to be putting more chemicals than just that in there. Right? I mean, doesn't it make sense? You're just putting bleach in there, disinfectant?
We don't put bleach in our water.
Well, the chemical he gave,
Chlorine.
it's considered bleach. It's a disinfectant. But the chemical he gave me, because I've had chemistry, I'm a registered nurse, and it's bleach. That's really what it is. So they put that disinfectant in there, so what else you worked there, Mr. Bosson, what else are they putting in there?
I have no idea, I'm the storm, I'm not water department, I couldn't answer
Okay,
the
well,
question.
I'd like to know.
And I'm sorry, but if this doesn't pertain to the stormwater board, I
Yeah.
don't know
Okay.
what kind of
Well, I just thought
errors we met
maybe,
here.
you know, he's from that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you're saying though that with all these buildings going up, you're still gonna be short funded? With Schilling Building and McFarland and all the other builders, you're still short money?
Well, with more added buildings comes, you need more personnel, and you need to upkeep the infrastructure, and there's an ongoing, it's not just like money's being printed off at the ATM here.
Mm-hmm.
There's ongoing problems that every single city, just as Town of Cedar Lake, we're experiencing a boom of growing, but we still have old infrastructure that Eric and his team and the Public Works team have to maintain, and there's just a finite amount of time, and there's a finite amount of funds, and guess what? It might snow this weekend.
Well, you would just
So-
think you'd get more of it since our taxes go up every year. I did not know that, like, where I lived before, like, when all of you have homes, you would get, this company, I can't think of their name, Nexus. And they had trouble with them, but they rehired them back again. But anyway, they assess you every 4 years, and so, I mean, you got your tax bill every year, but you know, probably might go up $50, down $50. All of ours, and some of it's a school referendum that passed, but all of Indiana, they do trending now. The Republican General Assembly, and I didn't know this, in '07, said, hey, let's do trending. So that's why they got this billions of dollars, because they're saying, wait a minute, you bought the house for $250, which I did, now it's selling for $350. It's worth $350. So, and it was never on your taxes that was $350, so they put $300,000. But we went up $500 the year before, $200, another $200. You keep going up where people, especially on a fixed income, and young people with families can't afford to live here. I mean, it's Cedar Lake, it's not Beverly Hills. It's a wonderful town and I like it, but I'm not living in Beverly Hills or Orland. You know what I'm trying to say? I gotta travel to go to stores I wanna go to. The other plus is I still live like in a country-like atmosphere. But it's getting where it really hurts me that people who did plan for retirement, who do have pensions, who did pay into Social Security, some of us can't afford to live here. And I'm right on the brink where I might not be able to. And as far as this lady, I wouldn't buy her house when I see it flooded, so she's really got a problem, because who's going to buy that? And if they buy it and she doesn't tell them, she's got a legal problem, I would think. And when I lived in South Holland, we had an older home. It was our first home when we bought it. It had a sump pump. Wasn't familiar with the sump pump. The previous owner put it in. So our brick bungalow, really nice, had a sump pump. Well, we got one heck of a rain like we had here. Guy next door floods. He's a teacher in South Holland, wonderful man. Was my kid's teacher. He came over, he said, I like you people, but, you know, he's swearing at us. I don't blame them, they're carrying out rugs, they're carrying out, so the only solution was, I don't know if you have a sump pump, he had to get a sump pump. He had to dig around his whole house, because that was the only way he could do it, because pretty much everybody on the block had a sump pump, and bam, he got hit. And we didn't realize, it felt very bad. In fact, my husband went over to help him out. But when he called engineers, they said, it's impossible if that guy's got a sump pump and you don't, right? You probably don't. There we go. All right. I just wanted to know how this ran.
Yeah, unfortunately, like with the Woods of Cedar Creek, projects like that are a lot bigger, so we have to hire an outside contractor to come in to do it, because there's only like a total of 20 of us that work in the public work department, and that's including water department, sewer department, storm department, and street department. So because we're still so small and the town is growing just dramatically, we're still gonna have to try to figure out, like Chris, unfortunately, in the next year or two is gonna have to try to find funds to increase our personnel, our trucks, our equipment, because the town is growing so much. So, like, technically, like with Julie's and the other guys' projects, there's only me and one other guy that's on the storm. We're the only storm crew, so there's only 2 guys. So with the smaller projects, Public Works will be able to handle it because they're not as big. But with their project, it's so massive that with what we have and the personnel that we have, the amount of people, we just cannot.
So if you have a smaller project, you'll get it fixed. If it's big, you probably won't. But, you know, when I came to that meeting, there was a town council meeting last year where, it was before COVID, where a lot of the business people came. And, you know, if they don't have a pond like we do, and it runs into there, they get zapped with a water bill. I mean, that funeral home's hanging by a thread. A lot of businesses don't want to come here. I wouldn't either, because if I'm a business person, I would think it through and say, hey, what's the water? How does it work? You know, they told the Elmwood Chapel we should have had a pond there. Well, why didn't coders tell them? And then there was a bank that had a pond, but it didn't really drain in there. They get it. So I'm just saying the utility bills, even like Harry O's where I hang out, they have their own well, but his water bill, I thought he was lying. I forget what it was. It was unbelievable what he pays for water every month.
That's stormwater, not a water bill.
Well, whatever it is, it's outrageous because he doesn't have a pond. If he would have had a pond, right, it would be better. It'd be a lot cheaper.
Like CVS. they've got underground storage under their parking lot to, take care of the storm drainage. And Culver's is going to build where Chase Bank is, and they're gonna have underground storage also.
See, whoever's doing it's a good business, maybe, they're thinking with that.
But what you gotta realize, they couldn't start these projects until they knew what amount of money they would have and when that money started to come in. So that money's coming in now, and so they're trying to prioritize what they can do.
But what they did was they checked the water bill, didn't they? Am I right? They said, wait, what's with the water here, right?
It's not the water bill, it's just the storm water.
Okay, but you get it on a bill from the
Yeah.
water department.
But these are building
Yeah.
ordinances that have been adopted and evolved over the years.
Yeah,
That
because the high school
the
does that
county's
too.
included.
They don't have any drainage, so their bill is
That's
tremendous.
the old Cedar Lake.
Yeah.
Sorry?
That's the old Cedar Lake. Now the new Cedar Lake moving forward will be a lot different than that.
Okay, and maybe with hers, she could put some drains, because in my backyard, the builder came back and did it. We had like, it was a golf course, right?
Mhm.
So we have some of this in the back, it looks like, you can tee off on there. Well, for me and the guy next door, we would get ankle deep, if not, even in our light rain. So he agreed, McFarland came out and he saw it, and he's like, yeah, I should have taken care of this. And he bought some drains, and they're like $10, right? Could she do that? And then drain it somehow off her property under the ground, where you just see the vent
Yeah.
on my property, but it goes into like a sewer.
Yeah.
There must be a sewer on her property, right?
I.
You could do it, Mr. Boswell.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, okay.
Let's do it again.
Hi, Julie Gibbons, 6425 West 145th Avenue. I have a question.
Okay.
What's it called, easement?
Yeah.
I heard you say one, possibly two. Who would be possibly two, me
You would
or
possibly be the second one.
Yeah.
who?
You would be possibly the second one.
Maybe.
Your
Malakarts would be the definite one.
Okay.
To your south. We may need one for you up on your north property boundary to install the culvert. Because I think it leaks onto your property a little bit.
What about Axel across the street, where you?
That's all in public right away.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not
Maybe
gonna
I'll
go that
call
far into his yard.
Yeah.
okay, so then, and you're guesstimating, we're gonna do mine like June, July, something to that effect?
We will have a better timeline when we get all the easements signed.
Yes.
Okay, well, you already know, we got penned in hand waiting for you to show up at the door.
We need to put them together, they need to go through legal review,
Yeah.
and that's gonna take probably a month at least
Okay.
to get it together to be prepared for signature.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is, you said there's two projects on my property? Is that one in the front?
Can you keep it down, please?
Is that the one in the front, going across the road? Is that considered a project?
That'll be
That's
included.
one, yeah, that's one, it's minor.
We were gonna plan on replacing that regardless, if you didn't even have a problem in your backyard, we were gonna replace it.
So that ain't the one of the two?
Well,
Well, it'll be part of
if
that.
you wanna call that
Yeah.
one. The biggest one is on your south property, or the Malakarts property line, and that'll head west, and then head into the street and up. So
Okay.
if you wanna call those one and two, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you were calling, the one in the front was like nothing, and
No.
they were, you know.
That's the easy one, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, we'll do that at the same time, that way it's done and over with.
Okay, so you're debating on whether you're gonna do that road, Wheeler?
The road is up to the board if they want us to proceed with that.
Yeah. I mean, if not, we'll have to go back out there and total patch it again like we did. last
Just 2 weeks
five,
ago.
yeah.
But just give me the stuff out and keep putting it in.
That'd be up to the board to decide on the road. so.
Well, if you don't fix it, you're gonna have a whole lot of people here not happy. Cause they're replacing parts on their car.
Yeah.
It's past, we got a little bit of a problem. But unfortunately, or fortunately for you guys, that part doesn't affect me.
Yeah, I guess for clarity.
Somebody else will be
Yeah.
here getting your attention.
I guess for clarity's sake of the board, do you want us to proceed that or not?
I mean, I think, I'm glad that you brought it up, because I think it would be worth looking at and including, since if you're already gonna be out there, you got
Well,
the hood open,
That one, the Public Works wouldn't be doing.
Yeah, that one, we're.
so that's gonna be bid, that's gonna have to be
We
bid
can,
out.
we can quote that one out, so it's quicker, it's less than 150,000,
Yeah.
we can quote it.
We have a paver, but I don't even know, it hasn't been used in like 5 years, so I don't even know if we would even attempt to use it. It'd probably be just easier to hire out.
No, I would, we need to let the paving guys do the paving
Yeah,
work.
you see, yeah, you know.
Total patcher, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would feel more comfortable with it being parked out there.
And you don't want DIY paving in front of your house.
No.
So, do we need to make a motion to have that quoted out in this timeframe?
Clarify your original motion to include
Well,
it?
I mean, we can bring Don, if you wanna get a quote and bring it back, but that will severely limit your ability to do the Woods of Cedar Creek this year. Depending on how the quote comes back, we could.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the 85,000?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should at least solicit a quote to include it. Does it hurt any,
Yeah.
does it drive up costs?
No, that would be entirely separate.
So let's keep it separate, but
If we didn't pave it, they would likely, you guys can pave, like, patches, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Get a half load, yeah.
order, that's a warning.
yeah, we could, I mean,
Yeah, that's easy, I think you guys can patches, but this is a stretch of road.
yeah.
I mean, we can have somebody potentially like site services do it, but, and they're in town, I don't know how long they're gonna be in town. They're gonna redo 137th here in the next month or so. They might be gone by the time we get to it, but a small outfit like that would be ideal. We kinda have a smaller outfit list that we would approach versus the big boys, Milestone Meats, all that.
I mean, we have done grindings, but with the way that road is, with the hill, I don't know if I'd want
I mean,
a big washout.
I'll bring it up to Tim, see if he wants
Yeah.
to try to take it on, but I don't think, I mean, knowing him, he'll probably say yes, but,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want him to, so, well, we can look into it, we can get some quotes and see what we get, and bring it back to you.
Okay.
Cause I know we still have to have somebody come in and fix, Stevenson Court as well.
Oh, and,
Cause when we put in the culvert pipe for that sump pump, it's still gravel. So I don't know if Tim's gonna have them repave that, or if it's just gonna be like a hot mix type deal. It's quite long, so I would imagine it's gonna be paved.
well, do we know who H&G is gonna use for the patches on Morse? They're gonna be way ahead of us anyways, though, too, so. We'll think about it.
Okay.
We'll send them through next month.
Okay.
So you may be asking me for a.
Easement?
Signature? Yeah.
Maybe. Well, we got your
And I
number.
ain't doing my fence till you people are done, 'cause I ain't gonna spend money on this fence and then you come along a week later and knock it down.
We most likely won't need one there.
Put it up.
Yeah, we most likely won't need one on your south line.
Yeah, but I need to know facts, and I'm not doing nothing.
I'm 95% sure,
Wait,
even higher than that probably, but.
cause once we get the easements and then we can get the material, then it's only, we can go right out there and do it, so. I mean, we got a couple smaller projects we're doing right now, but once we get to go, then we can go out there like the next day, so. And it shouldn't take that long, I can't guesstimate about how long, but it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, you said
Couple
it
days,
wouldn't, I
but
do.
yeah.
I mean, you gotta understand my point, I don't wanna spend $10,000
Yeah.
on a fence and then
Mhm.
half of it
Yeah.
is knocked down, and I gotta spend another $5, I don't have 10 to start with, you know, so.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be that, it shouldn't be that bad,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
14513 Morse, Terry Broadhurst. I just had a couple questions on the financing. We had talked you guys had talked a little bit earlier tonight about the $10 per lot on stormwater. I think, having conversations in the past with some staff, I know that some of the unincorporated property is only $5. If the, not unincorporated, undeveloped property is only $5. So for the record, is that still Stan?
Yes, vacant
Okay,
parcels
well,
are still
undeveloped,
fine.
yeah.
Vacant parcels, as we call them.
And then, one of the other things I wanted to kind of just, hopefully I could kind of get a little clarity on. When we talk about that $10 and then of course some $5, give or take, and if we go to the census that just was released, we're just below, I think it's at 18,000?
14,106.
14,000, so if we took.
And only 76% of the people filled out the form.
Right,
So
right,
we're
and that's
probably at
standard.
20,000.
Yeah.
But we only get federal funds for
Based on that.
14,106.
So, my question to that is when that $10 or $5 is paid by the property owners and homeowners, is that stormwater, is that earmarked solely for stormwater work, or is that kind of merged into the public works, public water department, storm and, I mean, does it become one budget, or in a sense,
It helps pay for these people up here too.
But my point being is that, I mean, if you did just have rounded it off, let's say it was $150,000 a month, if coming in off the stormwater $5 and $10, if we're just rounding it off. So my question is, if that was the number, and again, just rounding it off, does all of that get earmarked for stormwater work, or does it merge into public water too? It's kind of one budget.
But Chris,
Stormwater budget.
that's a wrong amount, right?
Yeah, the amount you're quoting is off, but I understand your
Yeah,
example. It's a stormwater budget, it pays for staff and related costs that do work on the stormwater utility.
And that's ongoing, obviously, maintenance, upgrades to the existing underground work. But I guess my question, again, just trying to find out if that is isolated solely for stormwater work on that. And in a sense, is it, like if you look at the records, would it show that way?
So I think this goes back to entrapment. I think what you're trying to ask is like, is stormwater money being paid for like sewers? No.
So in other words, that's all being kept.
It's all being kept for stormwater-related work and expenses.
So when you say we're gonna get hopefully $180,000 for stormwater projects, is that solely coming from that fund, Chris?
Correct.
Okay. And we're hoping to get up to 180, that is the way I was understanding it, and
No, you're getting wrong, but that's what's in the fund now.
that's what's already been granted.
That's
So
what's
we-
been collected.
So we can't do projects in January, because we're
No, I
not
understand.
accruing those
I
funds yet,
understand.
so it's an ever-growing fund, so to speak.
And then some of the public works, they get out there and they do some of this work like they're gonna do on those projects.
Sure.
And that doesn't come out of stormwater.
No, that does not.
So then that would be added to future projects then, when you can keep it in-house. But doesn't that budget, you still have to pay for that budgeted time for the staff out in the field, I mean,
Yeah.
you're still covering that in an hourly basis, right? And one way or the other, do you take that employees and put it under storm, or water, or sanitary? Do you do the hourly that way, or is it not broken up that in-depth yet?
Yeah, losing track of what you're asking.
So, I guess to keep it simple is, I'm just trying to figure out, when you do a stormwater project, you have X amount of hours worked with Eric and his partner. And so when they come in, they say, okay, we worked 8 hours at this project today, that's stormwater work. So that's budgeted straight out of stormwater money. And of course, when public work comes and does a stormwater project, don't you take that out of stormwater budget and move it over?
No.
No.
No. Staff has broken out a distribution matrix on how much time on average they use within a different utility,
Okay.
within Public Works.
So it sounds like you guys got this pretty dialed in.
And if we took the money out of stormwater, there'd be less projects done with what
Yeah.
Public Works does.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome, no problem, thank you.
All right, any other public comments?